Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Okay, great. So we'll start in just a couple minutes and then we'll go from there. great. So we'll start in just a couple minutes and then we'll go from there. Hmm. And if you have questions or specific types of material you want to chat chat about, let me know and we can do that. Okay. So for now, let's see. I'm gonna have questions or specific types of material you want to chat about, let me know and we can do that. Okay. So I'm just gonna grab headphones. Hmm. Okay, we'll start now. And then we will go from there. Okay, for some reason my camera is not looking the right way. So that's a little better for some reason, I think so. All right, so all right, so now it's working. So we can start with SAT, right? So what's going on with SAT? We'll do a quick overview of the whole test, and then we'll do some practice exercises. Okay, so there are two parts of the SAT, the reading and writing section, right, which is 27 questions in each module. You have 32 minutes for each module, and then the math section, which is 22 questions in each module, 35 minutes for each module. Okay. And this one is going to give you 35 minutes for each module. This is for the digital SAT, right? The adaptive one, which is what most of you will be taking. If you're not, they're a little different, but we're not going to focus on that for now, right? And timing is more of an issue on math than reading. So if you're taking this, right, and you feel like you're rushing on time for the reading, you should slow down and use all your time. A lot of students end too early on the reading and writing, and they make silly mistakes because of it. Okay, so then the adaptiveness, right? So unlike the old SAT, the new one has two sections that the old one had multiple sections, and this one here can now let you go into either module 2A or 2B after the first section. So, let's say you take the test in August. The first section will be the same, I think, for everyone, but then the second section, some will go into the harder section, which is 2B, and some go to the easier section, which is 2A. And this is going to make it harder to score an 800 and harder to score a 200, right? It's going to make it more of a bell curve, and more people are going to get the middle score of around, 500. Okay. And then we have materials you can use for the test, right? So I really would recommend Khan Academy, right? Because especially for grammar and for just general review of topics, it's not great so far with like hard questions, I think, at explaining hard like math questions, but it does a great job with the reading and writing, especially the grammar, and it's free. And they're working with the SAT, so they are totally hooked up with how the SAT is changing. They're a great resource and totally free. Along with that, right, you have College Board, the Blue Book tests. You should take, if you're taking the test seriously and you want to improve as much as possible, the minimum you should do is take all 6 practice tests. Um, all 6 practice tests and do them repeatedly, right? So take practice test 1, review your score, see how you can improve, and then retake it, and then move on to other practice tests. And then you have College Board practice, right? So there's the SAT suite. All right. So this one here, you can go in and find questions specifically to what you need. So let's say you need to do questions on the grammar section, right? You want specifically hard questions, you can go there and you can find it. So we'll go over how to do that in a bit. And then there are PDFs that take from this one, right? So there's one here that someone made and put on Reddit that's very helpful. And then YouTube, right? So you could obviously subscribe to my channel. I'm making these regularly and they're helpful. And then how to study, right? With paid resources, they're okay too, if you can afford them and it's not a big strain. But if you're not using the free resources, the paid resources aren't going to help that much. So tutoring, right? A good tutor can make a huge difference. But unless you have a lot of money and can just do as many hours as you want, right? It's probably not worth it to do more than, I don't know, 12 hours or something. And then with sites like Kaplan, Princeton Review and Test Simulators, they're also great because they have a lot of practice questions. They have good explanations. They have good practice tests. But again, Blue Book is made by the people who make the digital SAT. So that's the best resource for the most accurate questions and scoring. But let's say you use them all, use these as well. Okay. And then reading and writing. So now we're going to go through the types of questions, right? Reading and writing according to the Blue Book test and SAT, and I think it's pretty accurate, about 10 different types of questions. And within each of these, there's maybe one or two types, but they're so similar that we can consider them just one type. There's inferences, which is when you have to infer, and it's usually having to make an endpoint. Then you have central ideas and details, right? Which is like, what is the main idea of this passage, or what's the function of this sentence, right? And then there's command of evidence, which is either they show you a chart and you have to work on that chart and understand how to read the chart to support or undermine an argument being made in the passage. And then there is command of evidence, right? So that is going to be when you have with text, which is going to be when you have you have a passage and then you have multiple quotes and you have to see which quote connects best with the passage, right? And then you have craft and structure, which is words and context. That would be vocabulary. Text structure and purpose, which is knowing how a text is structured and how it's sort of outlined. And they might ask you what the purpose of a certain sentence in a passage is. And you have cross-text connections, right? Which is when you have two passages and you have to know how they relate to each other, whether they agree or disagree, and exactly on what points. Then expression of ideas, rhetorical synthesis is one of the easier types of questions, but it's also new, so you should definitely get some practice in. It's not really like the types of questions you normally do in school or even on the old standardized tests. And transitions, which is filling in words for transitions. And then we have standard English conventions, which is about grammar. Boundaries is about punctuation at the points of either the sentence or within a sentence, right? So whether you use a comma or semicolon or period. And then you have form, structure, and sense, which is about making sure verbs connect with nouns and nouns connect with nouns, pronouns with nouns. So we'll do that. And then digital SAT, right, has a lot of topics that are they can sort of germinate and go together, cross-pollinate, if you will. But the main ones are algebra, advanced math, geometry and trig, and problem solving and data analysis. And it really, if you can cover the general ones in these, you should be fine, right? Like there's going to be ones that are algebra and geometry, but if you're good at algebra and you're good at geometry, you should be able to do the questions that are both, right? And then let's see. So the study strategy I recommend that's sort of simple, kind of repetitive, but it is helpful, is you take a Bluebrick practice test, review all the questions you missed, do specialized practice on them. So look at Khan Academy, look at YouTube, ask tutors for any questions. You can go to Reddit and ask questions there. And then you will do that. And then after that, you retake the same Bluebrick practice test, repeat until you get a perfect, and then take a new Bluebrick practice test. And then you just repeat the cycle on and on, right? So it's kind of repetitive, kind of tedious, but trust me, it helps a lot. Okay, so then what's up with the test taking strategy, right? So always read your answer choices, all of them, even for easy math, right? Because the answer choices give you information. Like, is the answer, let's say for math, the answer is all integers, then my answer should be in all integers. Or does the answer have pi in it? Okay, then you know not to multiply the pi. And then do process of elimination on most of reading and writing. Okay. And then don't let what you don't know get in the way of what you know, right? That's very important. And reread. So that's me basically saying, like, if there's a part of a passage you don't understand, but there's a part you do understand, don't focus so much on the part you don't understand that it just totally sucks up your attention, right? Try to work out from the stuff you do know rather than going from the stuff you don't know. And then reread passages, right? So if you're running out of time on math, make sure you're doing it efficiently, which is trying to find strategies to shorten the time on even easy questions and use Desmos strategically. That's another big benefit of the new test, right? Is that we have Desmos and you can graph things that you couldn't graph before very easily. Okay. So again, that's my link. I could put it in the comments, but if you're here, you already know. So then let's do some practice exercises. And then we will end at around 4. So we have about 40 minutes to do practice. If you have a specific topic you'd like practice on, let me know in the chat and we can do that. For now, let's see. We can do words and context to start, right? So this is from the PDF I mentioned. So let's try this one here. And then we will go from there, right? So in this question, the following text is from Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. The narrator is being driven in a carriage through a remote region at night. The baying of the wolves sounded near and near, as though they were closing around us, on us from every side. I grew dreadfully afraid, and the horses shared my fear. The driver, however, was not in the least disturbed. He kept turning his head left and right, but I could not see anything through the darkness. As used in the text, where does the word, what does the word disturbed most nearly mean? So we have A, disorganized, B, alarmed, C, offended, and D, interrupted. Okay, so then we will do B, alarmed, exactly. Good. Okay, so then you mentioned rhetorical synthesis. So let's work on that. Because honestly, rhetorical synthesis is a section that I believe almost everyone, well, not almost everyone, but a lot of people can do really well on. So it's a new section. So why don't we go to that one and I will open that up. Okay, so, okay, rhetorical synthesis. And yeah, the other one was B, right? Alarmed. So, all right, so we'll try this rhetorical synthesis question and then we'll see how that one goes. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Oracles of the Pink Universe was a 2021 exhibition at the Denver Museum of Art in Colorado. It featured 8 artworks by South African artist Simfwe Nedzube. One of these works is a painting titled Assertion of Will. Assertion of Will depicts 3 standing figures. The figures wear clothing made of fabric pieces stitched to the painting's canvas. The student wants to describe how fabric is used in assertion of will. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? A, in assertion of will, the figure's clothing is made of fabric pieces stitched to the painting's canvas. B, the exhibition Oracles of the Pink Universe featured artworks by artist Simfwe Nzube. C, depicting 3 standing clothed figures. Assertion of will is a painting by Simfwe Nzube. And D, Simfwe Nzube's Assertion of Will was one of 8 artworks exhibited in Oracles of the Pink Universe at the Denver Museum of Art. So you want to focus here very much on what the question is asking, right? Because that's how you pick what information you're going to use. So here it's going to be wants to describe how fabric is used in assertion of will. Okay, so how is fabric used in assertion of will? Depicts 3 standing figures. The figures wear clothing made of fabric pieces stitched in the painting's canvas. So exactly, it'll be A, in assertion of will. The figure's clothing is made of fabric pieces stitched to the painting's canvas. Right, that's going with this here. Right. So if you have that, then you'll have your answer there. Okay, so then that would be A, right? So B, the issue there is it's not talking about the fabric. C also is not talking about fabric, and D is also not talking about the fabric. So let's try the next one, right? So here, So on that one, I just sort of read from top to bottom, which is fine. But what I would recommend is you look at the top before the actual notes while researching a topic. The student is taking the following notes, and then you read the question. The student wants to emphasize the difference between the two muslins. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? So muslins are woven cotton fabrics with a variety of uses. And by looking at the question first, right, you can notice what you should focus on, right, which is the difference between the two muslins. Dhaka muslin is a handmade fabric produced in Dhaka, Bangladesh. It has an extremely fine weave and is primarily used to make luxury clothing. Sheeting muslin is a machine-made fabric produced in factories. Okay, so Dhaka is handmade, sheeting is machine-made. One has a fine weave and it has a coarse weave. Or Dhaka has a fine weave and sheeting has a coarse weave, right? And is primarily used to upholster furniture and create backdrops for theater sets. Okay, so then we want to focus on the difference, right? So we have A, Dhaka muslin is a handmade fabric with an extremely fine weave, while sheeting muslin is machine made with a coarse weave. Okay, so that's connecting, right? So A seems like a very strong candidate. B, Dhaka muslin and sheeting muslin are two different types of woven cotton fabrics. No, A is better, right? Because it's actually explaining the difference. B is just saying there is a difference. C, muslins can be used in a variety of ways, from making luxury clothing to upholstering furniture and creating backdrops for theater sets. Again, that's not showing the difference between the two, right? It's just saying that this is what muslins can be used for. And then D, sheeting muslin is machine made, has a coarse weave, and is used for furniture and theater sets. So that's just focused on sheeting muslin. So we don't get that difference, right? So then A is the right choice here. And that explains how the two muslins, right? Dhaka and sheeting are different. Okay. If anyone has any questions, right, you can put them in the chat. Yeah, A is okay. Good. Also, for some reason, my live stream is like a few seconds delayed from my speech, so they don't always match up with the chat, but I'll get to your comments as they come. So now we'll do, while researching, we'll go to the next one. So again, try the same thing. Focus on the question. The student wants to specify who may have first populated the Azores according to the 2015 study. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? Right, the question's almost always set up, so you just sort of glance at it, but that's not the important part. The important part is what the student wants to specify, right? So he wants to specify who may have first populated the Azores. Okay, so then the Azores is a group of islands about 870 miles off the coast of Portugal. Historians have long believed that in the 15th century, Portuguese mariners were the first humans to populate the Azores. A 2015 study co-authored by Sofia Gabriel and Maria de Luz Matthias found that Vikings from Scandinavia may have populated the Azores as early as the 9th century. Okay, that seems to be relevant. The researchers found a genetic connection between house mice in the Azores and house mice in Scandinavia. And then the last one, house mice may have traveled from Scandinavia to the Azores on Viking ships. Okay, so for this one, right, Azores is a group of islands about 870 miles off the coast of Portugal. That's not really helpful, right? We're focused on who first populated it. So we look at our choices, right? We have Portuguese mariners may not have been the first humans to populate the Azores. That tells us who may not have done it, but that doesn't tell us who did. Historians have long believed the first humans to populate the Azores, a group of islands about 870 miles off the coast of Portugal, arrived in the 15th century. Again, it doesn't say who, it just says when. C, in this 2015 study, the researchers found a genetic connection between house mice in the Azores and those in Scandinavia. Again, that's evidence, but that's not telling us who. And then D, according to a 2015 study, the first humans to populate the Azores may have been Vikings from Scandinavia, not mariners from Portugal, as previously believed. And that would be the right answer, right? Because that tells us who first populated it according to the 2015 study. Okay, so with these types of questions, right, you really want to do your focus on the question itself and the data it's asking for. And then you're just sort of weaving through the notes to find the information you want, right? So we'll do one more at this level and then we'll go up. Okay, so you're confused between A and D on that one. So with A, right, have long believed the first humans to populate the Azores, a group of islands about 870 miles off the coast, arrived in the 15th century. So that tells us that that's when the people arrived, but it doesn't tell us who the people were, right? So then D, though, tells us the people were the Vikings from Scandinavia, which is in the note right here, found that Vikings from Scandinavia may have populated the Azores as early as the 9th century. Okay. Does that make sense there, right? This is the part you want. So then D is the one that's using that. A just tells us the timing. So we'll try one more at this level and you let me know if you have questions on it. Okay, great. Glad that was understood. So while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Yellowstone is a national park in the Northwest United States. Well, wait, I messed up my own rules, right? So the student wants to specify the number of gray wolves in Yellowstone. So he wants to specify, so that's not very helpful, right? Gray wolves introduced, that's a timing thing. Since then, the number of gray wolves in the park is stabilized at roughly 100. Okay, that could be helpful. This number is believed to be the park's carrying capacity. Carrying capacity describes the maximum number of species. Okay. So the student wants to specify the number of gray wolves in Yellowstone, which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal. Okay. So then for this one, right? A, gray wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone, a national park in the Northwest United States in 1995. That just gives us when they were introduced, not the number of gray wolves. Then we have B, as of 1995, there were gray wolves living in Yellowstone, a national park in the Northwest United States. Again, that just tells us that they were living there and what the park is, not the number of them. C, the carrying capacity of an environment such as Yellowstone describes the maximum number of species that the environment can sustain over time. Again, that's just the number. Yeah. D, Yellowstone is a national park that has roughly 100 gray wolves living in it. Perfect. That is correct because that's giving us the number, right? So with these, I think the whole idea is to not get overwhelmed by the information they give you by focusing on the information that they want, right? So they want the number of wolves, so everything else is kind of irrelevant. Okay, so now we'll try this one. And again, if you want to switch topics at any point, let me know and we can switch to something else. But let's try a medium level, right? These are a bit more challenging and maybe will be more helpful too. So while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to represent, okay, no, let's do this. Okay. The student wants to present the study to an audience already familiar with environmental DNA. Okay. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? So here the question's broader, right? Just wants to present the study. There's not a specific thing, and I think that's what makes this a little harder, is that the question is broader, so there's more information you have to focus on. So let's look at the choices. Sarah Euler's McCants' research analyzed eDNA in water samples from Florida Everglades for evidence of invasive constrictor snakes, which are difficult to observe. An analysis of eDNA can detect the presence of invasive species that are difficult to observe, such as constrictor snakes. Researchers found Burmese python eDNA or environmental DNA in water samples. eDNA is the DNA in released cellular materials such as shed skin cells. And D, Sarah Euler McCancis researchers analyzed environmental DNA, that is DNA from cellular materials released by organisms. Okay, so for this one, right, we're gonna do, we want to focus on presenting the study. So the study, right, researchers collected. So geneticist Sarah Euler McCancis research team analyzed eDNA in water samples from the Florida Everglades to detect invasive constrictor snake species in the area. And then the study determined a 91% probability of detecting Burmese python in a given location. Okay, so for this one, right, they're already familiar with eDNA, so you don't need to define it. So then when we see that, right, like something like C probably doesn't work because they're defining it and they don't really tell us about the study. D, researchers Euler McCancis researchers analyzed environmental DNA. Again, they're defining it and they're giving us information on a little information on the study, but still too much definition on what it is. And then we have A and B, an analysis of the DNA can detect. That doesn't mention the study at all. So then A should be it. Sarah Euler McCancis researchers analyzed eDNA in water samples from the Florida Everglades for evidence of invasive constrictor snakes, which are difficult to observe. And yeah, A is the right answer here. Okay, so good job, right? It's this one. This one's a little trickier than the last level, right? But that's okay. That's supposed to be like that. Why is it A? Because it's focused on the study. It's not wasting time describing what eDNA is. And it's give us details about the study that it happens in the Florida Everglades and that it's being used for evidence of invasive constrictor snakes, right? So that's why this one's the best one. Okay. And now we will go on to the next choice or next question, right? This one here. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Species belonging to the Orchidaceae family can be found in both tropical and temperate environments. Okay. So now let's look at the actual question. The student wants to present the study and its findings. Okay, again, pretty broad. So let's see what the study is. The first one's not really about the study. Orchidaceae species diversity has not been well studied in temperate forests, such as those in Oaxaca, Mexico. Again, not about the study. Okay, Areli Estefania Munoz Hernandez led a study to determine how many different Orchidaceae species are present in the forest of Oaxaca. Okay, we're getting to the study there. Munoz and Hernandez and her team collected orchids each month for a year at a site in Oaxaca. Okay, that's getting good too. 74 Orchidaceae species were present at the site. Okay, so then it feels like those three are the ones we want to focus on, right? So then we have a study led by Areli Estefania Munoz Hernandez identified a total of 74 Orchidaceae species in the temperate forest of Oaxaca, Mexico. Okay. Then we have this one here. There are orchids in many environments, but there are 74 Orchidaceae species in Oaxaca, Mexico. C, Oaxaca, Mexico is home to temperate forests containing 74 Orchidaceae species. And D, Areli Mu Estefania Munoz Hernandez and her team wanted to know how many different Orchidaceae species are present in the forests of Oaxaca, Mexico. So they conducted a study to collect orchids. So that doesn't give us the findings, right? Oaxaca, Mexico, this one doesn't talk about the study. And then this one also doesn't talk about the study. It just gives us the facts. It's going to be A. That tells us there was a study done by who, and it tells us what they found, right? So that one gives us exactly the info we need. Good. Okay, so now we'll go on to the next one. We'll do a couple more of these and then we'll go up to the harder level again. And if you have another topic you'd like to cover, we can do that as well. So while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to explain an advantage of the new platinum catalyst developed by Jianbo Tang and his colleagues. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? Okay. So for this one, right, the advantage of the new platinum catalyst developed by Jianbo Tang. Okay, so created a platinum catalyst that combines platinum with liquid gallium. Okay. And their catalyst was highly effective and required only trace amounts of platinum. Okay, so that seems to be the two pieces of information that are most relevant. So let's look at the choices. Researcher Jianbo Tang and his colleagues created a platinum catalyst that combines platinum, a rare and expensive metal, with liquid gallium. So that one does not mention the advantages. So A is off the board. Like other platinum catalysts, the new platinum catalyst requires a particular amount of the metal to be effective. No, right? So that's going to be off the board, just saying what they're like. It doesn't say its advantages. And then C, platinum is a rare and expensive metal that is used as a catalyst for chemical reactions. However, platinum catalysts typically require a large amount of platinum to be effective. Again, doesn't tell us the advantages of the new one. And then D, while still highly effective, the new platinum catalyst requires far less of the rare and expensive metal than do other platinum catalysts. Trace, okay, so this is it, right? It was highly effective and required only trace amounts of platinum. So it's going to be D, right? It's showing the effect. Perfect. You got it. Because unlike the other choices, right, they just talked about the info. D is giving us the advantage. Okay. So now let's do the next one. So while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Okay, the student wants to describe the distinctive style of Hauser's sculptures. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? Okay, so we have a sculptor, illustrator, and painter. Hauser developed a distinctive style for portraying Native American figures. B. Hauser's sculptures employ abstract modernist forms to depict Native American figures. C. Many other artists have been influenced by the style of Hauser's sculptures. And D. The sculpture Sacred Rain Arrow is a well-known example of Hauser's style. So I'm just going to show you how I can eliminate things without even looking at the notes, because to describe the distinctive style of Hauser sculptures. So this does not describe anything about style. This doesn't describe the style. And then we're between A and B. They both mention this one mentions a distinctive style, but it doesn't describe it. So then it should be B. So let's see what we're told about his style. Using employs abstract modernist forms to depict Native American guests, just developing a distinctive style, right? So this one makes sense. So you see how you barely even have to look at this. If you really focus in on what the question is asking and the choices, you can knock it down to just being about almost this, and you just use the notes to make sure you're on the right page, right? So this is a little higher level strategy, but if you can get this down, you'll do these really accurately and quickly, which will be great. Okay. For the harder level, you might have to read them, but when they're straightforward like this, I think you can get them down. Okay. And then while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to present the study's results. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? Okay. So again, this is a broader one. So here we would probably want to read the notes here. So while researching a topic, a student is taking the following notes. In 2018, researchers Adwat Deshpande, Sri Gupta, and Anindya Sinha were observing wild macaques in India's Bandipur National Park. Apologies for the pronunciations. I really got to get better at those. They saw macaques calling out to and gesturing at humans who were eating or carrying food. They designed a study to find out if the macaques were intentionally communicating to try to persuade the humans to share their food. In the study trials, macaques frequently called out to and gestured at humans holding food. Okay. Okay. In the study trials, macaques called out to and gestured at empty-handed humans less frequently. Okay, so then for this one, right, we are going to do let's look at the choices, right? So macaques in the study called out to and gestured more frequently at humans holding food than at empty-handed humans. We want the results, right? So that is the results. So let's just make sure there's nothing better for whatever reason. B, in 2018, researchers who had observed macaques in India's Bandipur National Park calling out to and gesturing at humans designed a study. So that doesn't give us the results. That just tells us they designed a study. C, the researchers hope to find out if the macaques were intentionally communicating to try to persuade humans to share their food. Okay. That's what they're hoping to find out. And then D, the researchers studied how macaques behaved around both humans holding food and empty-handed humans. So again, we'll cross that one off. Okay, so then A is the best choice, right? That gives us the results, which is that macaques called out to and gestured more frequently at humans holding food than at empty-handed humans. Okay. And then we'll go down to the next one. This will be our last one at this level, and then we'll go up to another level. And again, if you have another topic you want to cover, let me know in the chat. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to emphasize the thoroughness of Ida Tarbell's investigation of the Standard Oil Company. Okay. So something about her thoroughness, right? So A, Ida Tarbell not only interviewed Standard Oil executives, oil industry workers, and public officials, but also examined thousands of pages of the company's internal communications. B, Ida Tarbell, who investigated the Standard Oil Company, was a muckraker, a journalist who sought to expose corruption in U.S. institutions during the Progressive Era. Then we have C, as part of her investigation of the Standard Oil Company, muckraker Ida Tarbell conducted interviews. And then D, published in 1904, muckraker Ida Tarbell's book, The History of the Standard Oil Company, exposed the company's unfair business practices. So we want to focus on the thoroughness of her investigation. So this just tells us what it did, right? And that became a book. So C tells us that she conducted interviews. So that maybe is the thoroughness, but we'll see. B, Ida Tarbell, who investigated this Standard Oil Company, was a muckraker. That's just saying who she is. And then A, Ida Tarbell not only interviewed Standard Oil executives, oil industry workers, and public officials, but also examined thousands of pages of the company's internal communications. Okay, so then let's see. She interviewed. Okay, so she does interview, like this says, and like this says. But then she examined thousands of pages. So she does do that. So it's not C. That only gives us part of it. A is the right choice. Okay. And if you have any questions on this one, right, let me know. But again, if you notice, I didn't read through these until I read through the answer choices. I think that's a good strategy to use almost always, right? Because that simplifies the information for you and makes you work more accurately and quicker. Okay, so now we'll go on to the harder level, which will be found here. And if you want PDFs like this, let me know and I can send you an email. If you just put your email in the chat. Okay, wait up. You're asking about this one here, right? About the Standard Oil Company. Let me just put this. Okay, someone else is asking that too. So is it for the muckraker question? Yeah. Okay. So then for that one, right, as part of her invest, so that gives us part of the thoroughness, right? Because she did conduct interviews, but it doesn't tell us everything because in the notes, right, we have that she conducted interviews, which is also put here by not only interviewed, right? So not only interviewed means that she did that and other things. And then, but she also examined thousands of pages of documents, right? So that would make a better choice because it's giving us all the pieces of her investigation. And also it tells us who she interviewed, right? So C is too basic. It's too broad. It just tells us that she conducted interviews. A better choice, right, becomes more specific. It narrows it down and tells us she conducted interviews with executives, workers, and public officials. So that draws a better picture. And it tells us that she examined thousands of pages of the company's internal communications. Okay. So if you still have questions on that, let me know, and I will be happy to go back to it and answer it. Okay. So now here we go with the highest difficulty. All right, so same refrain, right? While taking notes, while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to present the primary aim of the research study. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information for from the notes to accomplish this goal? Basali's team wanted to better understand the mechanics behind Bird's Nest's uniquely flexible yet cohesive structural properties. Okay, that seems possible, right? Because it tells us what they wanted to better understand, which is like the aim of research often. B, the researchers used laboratory models that simulated the arrangement of flexible sticks and analyzed the points where sticks touched one another. Okay, that's not as good as A because it just tells us how they did it, not what they wanted to accomplish. C, after analyzing the points where the sticks touched, the researchers found that the structures became stiffer when pressure was applied. Again, that gives us information on what maybe they found, but not what they wanted to find. And then D, as analyzed by Basali's team, birds' nests are uniquely flexible, yet cohesive engineered structures, right? So that again is giving us what they learned, but not the aim, right? The specific word you want to focus on is primary aim. So then let's just make sure A is correct. If we go up, Basala's team used, okay, so the second note, a research team led by Yashraj Basale wanted to better understand the mechanics behind these structural properties. So, and then the issue with this note, right, versus this is it says these structural properties. If we go up to the note above, though, are uniquely flexible yet cohesive, uniquely flexible and cohesive. So they're combining the first two notes, right? A lot of these questions are just combining pieces of the notes into a nice sentence or two. So this one would be A. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions on that one. Okay. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to explain the disadvantage of relying on audio features to predict a song's popularity. Okay. A, many popularity predicting algorithms are based on a song's audio features such as loudness and pitch. Okay. So that's just telling us that many features are based on audio features, or many algorithms are based on audio features. B, algorithms based on audio features may misidentify the main features of a song with varying acoustic traits, making such algorithms less reliable predictors of popularity than those based on fixed traits. Okay, that should maybe be it. C, audio features describe acoustic traits such as pitch intervals, which may vary within a song, whereas descriptive tags describe fixed traits such as genre, which are reliable predictors of popularity. And D, the MSD's descriptive tags are reliable predictors of a song's popularity as the traits they describe are fixed. So I think I can eliminate D because it's not talking about the disadvantages of audio features, and A because it's just saying what audio features are. So we're between B and C. If we look at the notes, right? These algorithms may fail to accurately identify main audio features of a song with varying acoustic traits, and then algorithms based on descriptive tags that describe fixed traits such as genre are more reliable predictors of song popularity. So B and C both kind of do what you're looking for, but C doesn't really compare. It talks about how audio features describe acoustic traits which vary within a song, and then descriptive tags focus on traits that are fixed, such as genre, but that doesn't give us as specific a focus, right, on why audio features are a mistake, right? So here, right, accurately identify the main, so they can't identify the features very well. So then if we go with B, based on audio, may misidentify the main features of a song, making such algorithms less reliable predictors of popularity than those based on fixed traits. So I would think C is more talking about the advantage of something like um, fixed traits, like the tags, but B is talking about the disadvantage of algorithms, right? So C is not as good as B. So here, I think this has probably been the hardest one we've done because B and C are very close. But if you focus on what the question is asking for, right, which is the disadvantage of relying on audio features. And the disadvantage is that you can lose, um, you can misidentify the song based on audio features because they can change within the song. Okay. Now we'll go to the next one here. We'll do a couple more and then we'll wrap up. I'm going to be hosting one next week again. Time is still to be determined, but, and also I'm not sure if I'll do it on live stream or Zoom, but I'll let everyone know. So while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. So the student wants to emphasize the difference between the two books. Okay. So the difference between the two books for this one, although both are powerful works of literature that contributed to new legislation, Equiano's book is an autobiography, while Sinclair's is fictional. Okay, so that's one difference. That could maybe be it. Both they may have different, they may have written about different topics, but Equiano and Sinclair both influenced readers. Again, they talk about a difference, so maybe it. I don't like it as much as A because they don't mention what the difference is, and it focuses more on the similarity, right? By saying, but but we can keep it in for now. C, the 1807 Slave Trade Act resulted in part from a book by Aquino, while the 1906 Pure Food and Drug Act resulted in a part from a book by Sinclair. So that talks about the difference in the results, but not so much in the difference in their books. They might be very similar books, right? So again, C is probably weak. I would eliminate that one. And then D, the interesting narratives of the life of Olaudah Equiano and Jungle are two works of literature that contributed to new legislation concerning the slave trade and food safety, respectively. That one is just noticing the similarities. So we're between A and D, B, and we'll go up and think about which one is the better option. So interesting narrative of the life of Olaudah is the of Olaudah Equiano is the autobiography of a man who endured slavery on both sides of the Atlantic. Okay, so there's the autobiography part. And then The Jungle is a fictional work by Upton Sinclair that describes unsanitary conditions. Okay. So then this one is true and it focuses on their differences. So A is the stronger choice, right? B was focused on how they're similar and it didn't explain what their differences were. So we're going to go with A here. Okay. And then I think that'll be our last one for today. If you have any questions like last time, let me know. I'll be doing another one next week and I'll keep doing these in the fall as well. They'll be for an hour and we'll usually cover quickly just an overview for new people on what the test is about, and then we'll go into a subject for next time. After that, I might have specific seminars on a specific topic, right? Like we could do one that's just on this. We could do one that's just on algebra and focus like that. Okay. So I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. And again, always leave comments if you have questions. And if you want more